All right, guys, we are back. So we're going to do a continuation of our part one of the Atlanta market analysis. Again, guys, I'm going to be analyzing every MSA over 1 million population. Okay, so now for the next, I would say 50 days or so. So I plan on going live every weekday so I can knock these out, and hopefully a month and a half, probably 2 months. But yeah, that's the plan. So in the mornings, I'll do the market analysis, and in the evening, I'll show you guys which list I will pull in those markets and which zip codes I would target if I were going there from scratch. So again, I want to show you guys just the data that we're working with here, and we're going in alphabetical order. So the first one actually is a pretty good MSA, which is Atlanta. So next we'll do Austin, then we'll do Baltimore, then Birmingham, Boston. I'll just tell you guys just what my thoughts are too when it comes to these markets, right? I'll just be completely honest and let you know if I'll target the market, if I were trying to look for a virtual market, or if it's an area, or if there's any areas that are better to target than another. Like, are there any zips that are worth targeting, or if I would avoid it completely? And maybe it's not a good market to target for wholesaling, but is it a good market for rentals? Again, this is my opinion. I'm looking at this as a totally unbiased, really an unbiased look, an analytical look. That's how my mind works. I don't go off of hunches. I don't go off of if something works, or, I just don't go off of that. I go off of actual data. And I've been doing this analysis for over 3 years. So I started doing this in 2021 using this spreadsheet right here, and the other one that I'm going to reference to actually just show you guys how I'm coming up with this data. And I've actually market using this data. So I think before you even target any market, you should do your market analysis, because you're just shooting in the dark if you don't. Okay. So before I get into it, let me go ahead and just make sure I'm streaming on Facebook. Let me make sure my audio is good as well. And then I'll go ahead and do a continuation on today's analysis. And a lot of what I'm going to be doing, guys, just going forward, is basically marketing. A lot of you guys have followed me due to my marketing prowess, and I'm getting back to my fundamentals. Yeah, I do hire team members and things like that, but what I really do best, guys, is actually it's really data, right? That's my thing. I'm a data nerd. So let me go ahead and post this in my Facebook group, and we'll go ahead and get started again. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Jermaine. So the only thing I have to do now, if you're on YouTube and you say the audio is good, I'm just going to post this in my Facebook group. I just tag everybody. So give me like 1 second. All right, so we're good to go. We're good to go, guys. Let's get back into it. One last thing. I need to tag everybody. I'll be honest, guys. If I could do one thing in real estate, probably for the next year or so, it'll be doing this data stuff. I love this stuff. I think this is really where I shine in. Okay, I'm gonna share my whole screen with you guys. Again, just to recap, we were targeting Atlanta MSA. So the thing I did on the part one, Jermaine, you were on. So shout out to you for joining tonight as well. I went and I just put all of these zip codes from all of these counties in a separate spreadsheet. Okay. So we're looking at over probably, guys, 20 counties. Here's the thing, guys. We may not even touch some of these smaller counties, but I like seeing the data year over year. So I like comparing the data from 2021 to 2023, 2023 to maybe 2025. I may, wait until 2025 to actually update this data again, because this is in 2023, and then I waited 2 years to update this data over here. And I really saw a lot of changes. From 2022 to 2023, I didn't see that many changes as far as like the data, meaning some drastic changes in the median sale price. So we look at 2021, the median sale price for 30188 was 300K. And then it was a huge jump to 467K in 2023. It'll be really cool to see what that jump is or decrease is in 2025. I think you could be, if you try to like look at the data on a month-to-month basis, or even in too small of an increment year to year, it doesn't give time for the trends to actually increase and stabilize, right? Or plateau. And it can be very deceiving, especially if you're trying to compare data in like here, spring with the summer. Now this is fine because this is year over year, but if this was April in 2023, and then I try to compare this to July 2023, these fluctuations right here may just be high because of the seasonal nature of real estate. Okay. And we all know that everything spikes in the summer. Okay. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's how I look at the trends. Okay. Again, I put all these counties here, and then in the in Wikipedia, they have the counties separated by are not separated. They have them in, I guess, descending order as far as population. So again, guys, the lower you go on this spreadsheet here and in Wikipedia, you're going to have fewer and fewer zip codes to target. But does that mean that these zip codes aren't worth targeting? Guys, I'm about to do analysis here. We may find some gold in Jasper County or Pike, where there's 18,000 people in population. Now, am I going to target that initially if one zip code stands out? Probably not, because I usually like targeting counties just to keep everything organized. And again, it's just so I don't have to, so I know what counties I'm targeting first, so I'm not overlapping and pulling duplicate data. Okay, so that's very important. That's how I keep my list pools organized. But again, if I am in a highly competitive market and let's just say I'm doing direct mail or I'm doing some sort of expensive type of marketing, I may say, you know what, let me hit up Walton. Or I may even be working with a pay per lead or PPC company, and they may say, well, your costs are going to be 10 times as high if you target Fulton, because everybody's competing over Fulton, versus if I target it like a Jasper County. And again, there may be some motivated sellers there. There may be a zip code that's actually worthy of targeting. And again, I like seeing this percentage of change year over year, because some of these smaller zip codes like Dawson had a 20% change now in population compared to 2010. Now it looks like a lot when you look at 20%, but number wise, it's only about 5,000 people. So that could be a little bit misleading. And I really don't look at that to determine whether or not I'm going to target an area. I'm mainly looking at, let's go back to my spreadsheet, this data. And the data I'm looking at are the median sale price, the days on market, and the home sold. Guys, super important. When we talk about statistically relevant fields, statistically relevant data points, this is what we're talking about when we're doing our analysis. I'm going to tell you guys why each of these fields matter. Again, if you guys were on the stream this morning, when I did part one, I mentioned to you guys I had about 40 data points I was tracking initially. I used to go row by row and update all of this information. And the reason why I was doing that back in 2021 when I first did this exercise was because I was trying to gain insights from doing this exercise. I was basically just fumbling around initially. And then I created my own process based off of when I would pull my list and then when I would target certain data. And then I would, once I did this time after time, I realized, okay, you know, I'm really only answering pivotal questions based off of only a few columns. And that's these 3 columns. Okay. So it's important, guys, not to get caught up in when people say, oh, we're tracking 1 million plus data points. What's statistically relevant? That's what you need to ask. It's like, what actually matters to track? It's really important. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see. And let me also freeze this top row. And if you guys stick with me, I also have some great list criteria I'm going to show you guys. Because I put some lists together for one county, mainly Fulton County, just so you guys can get an idea of what type of data you can pull in this market. And if I were to market Atlanta, what list I would target. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to filter the median sale price for 2023 by 500,000 or less. Meaning I don't want to see any zip codes that are over 500K. Okay. So what does this tell me? If I'm targeting zip codes over 500K, then that means that I'm basically in a really affluent area. All right. Now, honestly, 450, 467, that's pretty high, but I don't like cutting it off just at like 400K. I think 500K is a good place to basically stop. Let me unfreeze this page. Okay. I need to freeze this top one. I think 500K really anywhere in the United States, unless you're in like California, there's exceptions to the rules, guys. I think that's a very good place to just like put a ceiling on. And when I do the average here, I think we're around 370K as a median sale price. 409K is a median sale price here. And that's the average of all medians. And that's pretty high. Let me do this again. Okay, yeah, so 409K. So the average days on market, I think we were around 33, if I'm not mistaken. 26. Let me see if I filtered anything out here. Oh, you know what, guys? So, yeah, I know I filtered something out here. I had another filter on the days on market, our home sold. So let's redo this. The median sale price, the average of all the medians for every zip code. Okay, 388K. And then when we do the average for the days on market for the whole MSA, we're at 33. That's what I thought. And then when we do the home sold, we're at about 100, I believe. $114. It'll round up to 115, I'm pretty sure. Okay, cool. Great. So I like what I see here. Okay, only thing I don't really like, guys, is like the median sale price. That's a little bit high. But is that going to stop me from targeting this area? No. Does that mean that there's no areas worth targeting here? Absolutely not, because we have over 81 zip codes. So, even if I only could target 50 of these, that'll give me 3 months worth of data, 4 months worth of data. And with my philosophy, guys, I pull data, I target it, and it's done, right? So unique data, you're going to hear me say this over the course of this series, is unique data. And when we talk about unique data, guys, we're talking about data that when we pull it, it's like gasoline. It's done, right? I don't recycle lists. unless I have to. And when I say I have to, if my list pulling, if my texting team or if my cold calling team is waiting for a new list and I'm tied up doing something else, I'll just tell them, hey guys, just like target the people that didn't respond back or recycle the list and batch dialer. All right, I'll have them do that. But that's not a long-term strategy because I cannot guarantee our not conversion rates, our lead flow, right? I can't guarantee our lead flow by targeting the same data. A lot of people want to do that. They want to target the same data month after month and then complain when they're not getting results. There's an expiration date for your data, guys. Does that mean you cannot recycle your list? No. But if you want to guarantee the same KPIs and same type of seller motivation month after month, then you're going to have to pull new data, right? You just have to factor that in to your marketing costs, right? And so I've seen a lot of investors try to avoid this, and then they get frustrated and they try to blame their team, or they try to blame their data source, or they try to point fingers in all different directions when they need to point it at the issue with not targeting the right data, like not pulling new data. And that's a big thing. When we talk about data, it's basically your list. Okay. It's basically your list. And also too, I'm going to make a note here before I go, talk about the list, that the list I'm about to show you guys, like the criteria, outside the ones where I'm doing the same criteria with different filters, you want to make sure your lists are completely have completely different filters on them. Meaning some lists, like niche lists, overlap, right? So if I'm targeting what's a good example? If I'm targeting an absentee list, so if I'm targeting an absentee high equity list and I'm targeting a tire landlord list, guys, some of you are getting information from bad areas. I just need to set the record straight. And I'm not knocking anybody's hustle here, but some people that are list vendors, right? I consider myself a reputable list provider, right? That's my bread and butter. Most people that I work with, they usually buy a list from me initially, and then we scale up and do marketing and then build out their team. But, the whole thing is getting them a solid list initially, right? That's the foundation, right? Starting with good data. But some people, like with these unique list vendors, and this is why I don't do niche lists, is they overlap, and you think you might be getting unique data, like all 5,000 pre-foreclosure records, and then another, 6,000 lien records, when 80% of that list overlaps. And so you put the lien list and then the pre-foreclosure list and your dialer or your texting tool, and you wonder why you have 80% of the records that are not uploaded and they are duplicate. You got finessed. Okay, you got finesse. That's what happens. And I'm not saying people do this intentionally, but I think also too is a marketing tactic with some of these companies, right? Because I'm on this side of the fence, right? I sell data, right? But I pride myself on the data I sell, and then I set my clients up for success. Because anybody that pulls a list with me, I want you to be able to get a deal, right? As long as you know how to close a deal up, guys, you should be able to get at least one contract. Right? If you're fumbling around, but 10,000 record list should yield 2 contracts over the course of it. Targeting it over a month, 3-4 months, should yield about 5 to 7 contracts. That's what the average is, but definitely one within the first 30 days, right? But anyway, with that being said, a lot of people think they're getting unique data, and they're not, right? So they may get the example I was going to use is an absentee and absentee list, or absentee high equity list, and a pre-foreclosure list are the same thing. I'm sorry, guys. It's not pre-foreclosure. Let's see. Tire landlord list are the same thing. Okay. Right. That's why when I pull lists for people, and I'm going to show you guys, I actually show you the criteria I'm using. Okay. So if the criteria is overlapping, then you're pulling the same data. Now, one way to avoid that, right, is if you are targeting, you could target the same criteria, but in different zip codes. That's totally cool. And that's actually how I pull my list. So when I see a list that performs really well, like right now, tax delinquent, absentee, and owner occupied. That's distressed tax delinquents, right? I'm not just talking about getting it from the county. We get our data from the county, but we also overlap it as well in our tool, our FTP server, to get to basically only target single families, right? Duplexes, tris, and quads. And then we're able to make sure we're just targeting what we want to target in the areas we want to target. Okay. So we don't want rural stuff. We don't want mobile homes. We don't want corporate owned properties. You may get a list from the county, but if you don't clean that list up, guys, you're going to have a lot of junk on it. And then you might as well just be doing pay per lead stuff, or PPC nationwide, where you get a lot of junk. The purpose of you pulling an actual list and an outbound marketing, the advantage with outbound marketing, guys, people can say what they want, is that you're actually able to target what you want, right? So you have the advantage, and you have the advantage of actually getting really granular with your filters. That's why I think everybody should learn this, or even, just have somebody in their back pocket like myself who's able to do this stuff for you. Because if not, your money's better spent really doing pay per lead, right? And just doing nationwide if you don't really have a strategy, or you're not really adding a lot of filters on your list. Okay. Super important here. So when we do tax delinquents, guys, we're also the distress part. Tax delinquent just doesn't make them distressed, right? Somebody can say, oh yeah, tax delinquent's distressed. No, guys, I put a sale price filter on my list. So I only want to target people that have a total outstanding loan amount of 100K or less, and they bought their house for 100K or less. If they're tax delinquent and they own a $700,000 home, and it was built and it was bought maybe this year and built this year, right? If you don't have that filter and you're just getting that from the county, you're going to have new homes that may, people may, the builder may not have paid the taxes this year. That doesn't mean that they're distressed, or maybe it means it does. It may mean that they're upside down on the whole development, right? Or they're in a litigation with their contractor or something, and you won't be able to do anything with that. And you're going to be targeting LLCs. That doesn't make your list at all by any means, just because it's tax delinquent motivated. And again, you're going to get a lot of junk. And when we were doing direct mail, this is what we were doing. We were wasting a lot of money, guys. I was doing yellow letters. And so we would target probably 3,000 people at once, and the yellow letters with, once you did postage, and then, we would do all the upgrades as far as the red ink, and then, the multicolored envelopes. Once we did that, guys, we were at about $150 per mail piece. All right. So you're looking at $4,500 for one campaign. Thankfully, we were able to make something work with most of these lists. There was one time that I didn't, and I actually pulled a list. It was from a list vendor. This is why I really started to learn this stuff myself, because I'm not going to say they allowed it, but I basically bought a list, them knowing that I was an investor, but they sold me a list of, I think it might've been foreclosure or pre-foreclosures, but there were no equity filters on it. And so I basically spent, I think it was a good amount. I think it was $7K on that mail campaign. Luckily, we were able to get a deal out of that, and we were able to break even. But months later, I think we got a 15K assignment. But guys, that was, for a month or two, we were basically in a hole, and we didn't think anything came from it. Basically, we got a deal for follow-up. But when we did the campaign initially, nothing came of it. So, so it's very important, guys, knowing what you're pulling. Especially, I know you guys aren't doing direct mail, and the stakes, a lot of you guys aren't doing direct mail, and the stakes aren't as high for you. But if the stakes are high for you and you're doing direct mail, guys, you got to have a very targeted list. And I don't trust all these buzzwords and stuff. We're using AI, we're using AI this, and, proprietary that, it's just guys, I spelled that name wrong. We're using AI this and that, guys. That's mainly the buzzword. A couple years ago, it was a big data. Whatever happened to that, right? You guys don't remember that hype? RIP to that. Guys, I don't get caught up in trends. I focus on the fundamentals. And again, I'm not going to be the most flashy person with this stuff, but I'm going to tell you guys what works. And I don't think I could tell you guys what doesn't work. It's just not in my profile, my personality profile. I'm gonna see if I have any questions here, guys. Okay, so all right. So Jermaine said I usually use list source to pull MSA and zip codes. Is there a reason why you prefer Redfin? So that's a great question, Jermaine. So you use list source to pull the MSA and zip codes. So can you specify like what specifically are you? Okay. You're probably getting all of the zip codes for the MSA from list source, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's a good question. It's a good question. So the main reason, and I'll just leave this question up here for a moment. The main reason why I use Redfin is simply because I needed an area where I could scrape all this data. Okay. So again, there may be one or two zips missing here, but I'll be honest, guys, if the zip's missing here, it's probably not a large zip. It's probably low density in the middle of nowhere. And again, I trust Redfin, and then I trust Wikipedia. So we pulled this from Redfin, but I also use Wikipedia to verify this data as well, right? I use Wikipedia to verify the counties, and sometimes I'll go in here and actually see what zip codes are there. Okay, and here's the thing. All this is scrubbed directly from the census.gov, right? So if I look at the sources, okay, so like, look, all this is from, right, the Census Bureau, okay? And I know Redfin uses that data as well. Redfin, I'll be honest, just based off of my research, I found that Redfin is one of the most reputable sources I just use them for data, right? So Zillow, I use a lot for comping out properties and things of that nature, looking at sales prices. I found Redfin, their biggest advantages are their market insights. I love their market insights. There's not another platform that has that data publicly available. I think that's their selling point and why they get people to use that tool. A lot of realtors, even like homeowners. I know I use it for that, and I give them a lot of traffic simply because of that. So Redfin, I found that the market insights are just second to none on there. So they have the most robust data set, and so going to be one of the most comprehensive and complete. And you can use that, but you can use list source. But here's my thought, and here's my takeaway from this. I suggest whatever you utilize, okay? Whatever you utilize, make sure you keep it the same. If you're going to use list source for everything, okay? You don't want to like use Redfin for one, or either my market, my zip code analysis sheet one day, and then you're using list source the next. You're using prop stream the next, because it's just going to, guys, it's going to mess up it may not mess up anything, but you want to reduce how many variables you use, so you have some sort of constant here. And so if you see any fluctuations in your data set, let's just say Redfin is off by 10%, and the true median sale prices are, for all these data sets, it's 10% lower. Well, at least I'm comparing apples with apples. If I'm off by 10% and it's 10% too high in the median sale price, Redfin days on market and home sold, and then let's just say list source is 20% lower. Okay, well, that's going to mess up my order here if I'm, updating some of these zip codes with Redfin data and some of these zip codes with list source data. Again, I'm not saying that this data is off, but again, at least I'm looking at comparing apples with apples. And again, you guys will hear me just say this over the next couple of like just weeks when I'm doing this, is when I do this, I am looking specifically for, I'm looking for the order here, right? Yes, the number matters as far as the averages and then what's in these fields here. But even if this data was off slightly, right, by what the true data is, the order of the zip codes, when I put it in descending order for the median sale price, or when I put it in descending order, meaning greatest to least as far as days on market, or home sold, when I'm looking at the greatest home sold and then to the least greatest home sold for each zip code, it's most likely going to be the same, right? Even if it's off a little bit. And so We're looking more of the trends here. And of course, we're filtering some of these fuels by the numbers that we have here. Is it going to kill us, guys, if we are filtering this by, we're just looking at 50 homes sold or greater, and then 1 or 2 zip codes are off? Guys, that's not going to kill us. And if it does, and if that's going to remove 2 zip codes, and then we only have 10 zip codes, well, to be honest, guys, that's a market I wouldn't even be in. But see, right now we're analyzing all zip codes, all MSAs that are over 1 million population. So we probably won't even have that issue. I would say the biggest issue we're going to have is probably going to be whether or not I would target it, because the median sale price is going to be too high. It's not going to be an issue with home sold volume or the days on market, right? Some of these areas, guys, they're just going to be so affluent where I'm going to try to find some areas here that I would target. But to be honest, I may just say, like, tomorrow I'm going to do Austin. I may just say, you know what, guys, if you're in Austin, my suggestion is just to go virtual. Again, I'm not saying that's the case, but some of these I may just say, hey, you know what, if you're in the market and you're trying to compete there and you're trying to find a virtual market to go to, like, I wouldn't go there. Now, if you're physically in the market and you want to make it work, sure. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. But if you're trying to go to a virtual market and choose between Atlanta or an Austin or Baltimore, right, I'll tell you the better of those to go to and why I would. And with all these here, it's really going to come down to what the median sale prices are, because the lower the median sale price, the more motivated the sellers are going to be. All right. I've targeted most of these areas over the years as well. Except for Seattle, San Jose, probably like 80% of these I've targeted. Or either I've worked with somebody in those areas where I pull data from. Because I pulled over 3 million records in my database going back to 2020, and before that probably close to 4 million. Okay, hope I answered your question, Jermaine. That's a good question. Keep them coming, please. And before I go forward, I'll just see if you have any comments. Okay, again, that was a really good question. It's a good one. All right, guys, let's get back to it. So before I go on the list criteria here, because I have some good stuff for you guys on that, I'm going to show you guys which zip codes I would target. So if I was a brand new investor and or not brand new investor, or even working on putting a campaign in a virtual market in Atlanta, what would I target? Okay. So again, I'm going to filter every zip code. I'm going to filter out the zip codes that only have 50 homes sold or greater. Why do I do this? Because that tells me, guys, there's going to be cash buyer activity there. Okay. With 50 zip codes, unless the median sale price is like 90,000, I know there's going to be a decent amount of cash buyer activity. I don't want all cash buyer activity. I want retail buyer activity, because our cash buyers need people to flip their houses to. And yeah, it could be all cash buyers there, but my assignment fees aren't going to be as high if I'm targeting an area where the median sale prices are like below 100K, because that's not flippable inventory. I want an area where at least the median sale price is like 150K, because I know ARVs are probably going to be around like 170. There may be some areas where the ARVs are like 120, but at least I know there's ARV inventory. I don't want to be somewhere where there's only like rentals, right? People just buy homes and they just rent them out. It's just very difficult to get comps there. And I know my wholesale fees are just going to be so much lower. So, and also too, guys, this allows me to know if I'm like avoiding war zones. So in conjunction with the home sold, I look at the median sale price, and let's just say there's a lot of inventory sold. Okay. But let's just say the median sale price, right? So I'm going to look at, I'm going to go to 2021. Okay. So lowest one was 140. If I was somewhere in the median sale price was like around under like 120, guys, even like if it's like in the 90,000 price range or something like that, and then I have maybe like 20 homes sold or maybe 30 homes sold, guys, that tells me that that's probably a war zone. Now I can have a low median sale price and then a lot of homes sold, like 70. And that could tell me, okay, well, at least cash buyers feel comfortable buying there. A war zone is like, okay, if there's 20 homes sold and it's 90,000, and on average, we have like 114 homes sold, like on average in the last 30 days or for this month, and the median sale price is 90,000, why is it stuff flying off the shelf? That's a question you have to ask yourself. So, like, that's what I'm looking at when I look at this data. Like, this data set tells me so much about the market before I even go there. Again, I'll say that again, guys. If I'm in an area, if I'm looking at a zip code and there's 20 homes sold in the last 30 days, right, or based off of this for this month, and then the median sale price is $90,000, why is it stuff flying off the shelf? Why aren't there 120 homes sold? Why aren't people targeting that area? These are questions that need answered. So now if the whole market is like around 90K, 100K, 120K, okay, right? At that point, I'm like, okay, if the average of all the zip codes is around like 150K, all right, that's still, that tells me, okay, well, people probably don't want to target this area. And if the home sold is around maybe like 40, okay, I have to take that in consideration. So it's not just so black and white, but I would say for the most part, even if you're in an area where the median sale prices are low, that 90,000, anything under 100K, and if you don't have over 50 homes sold, that should like make your spidey senses go off. Seriously, guys. So I'm going to reset this data here. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So again, I'm able to answer that question. So this data set allows me to answer that. Because a lot of people ask me, well, how do I avoid war zones? That's how I avoid war zones right there. Okay. So looking at these two data sets in conjunction, home sold and median sale price. Okay. What else can I answer? So, okay, this is an easy one, but I want to answer as well. So a lot of people may ask me, well, is this zip code that has, let's just say the median sale price is 500K. Is that too high to target, CC? Well, a lot of people ask me that, and I need to ask them, well, you need to give me context, because 500K in LA, that's a decent zip code to target. Or in Boston or NYC, that's a decent zip code to target. But I would say in most of the United States, probably not. That's probably too high. But again, it's proper context. You need to look at that zip code in comparison to the whole MSA. And again, guys, I don't think I mentioned this earlier today, but what I'm looking at is you only want to target one MSA per sheet, right? So notice I don't have Savannah, Georgia on here or anything like that, because you're going to be looking at apples and oranges. So again, I just have Atlanta zip codes here. Okay, so if somebody asks me, okay, is 500K too high? In my mind, I'm like, yeah, probably so. But again, I don't know what market they're in. And I need to know like what the averages are in the whole MSA to be able to determine that. So days on market, the median sale price right here. The highest one is 835. The median sale price is 388. If we multiply this by 2, let's see. The median sale price of 388 times 2, we're looking at 777,000. Guys, I want to go near this amount, but that just gives you context that anything over that amount is like way affluent. If we're looking at a zip code that's twice as expensive as what the average is of all the zip codes, there ain't no way. And so, guys, that's how I make really, I would say, like tougher decisions. Not so tough now, but if you're like trying to determine, well, man, I heard that Alpharetta is a good area, 30005. Man, there's a lot of activity going there. Guys, you're not going to be targeting your ideal demographic. Now, if you're going after, if you're a realtor, if anybody realtors are listening to this live stream or later, now, if you really want to market like a wholesaler, shout out to Jerry Puckett, who came out with that. I didn't coin that. He's on Bigger Pockets. If you really want to shout out, market like a wholesaler, and then what you want to do as a realtor is you want to use this market, the zip code analysis sheet, and then target some of these areas. But most realtors, I think they just wait for business to come in or referrals. But man, you can tear it up if you target these areas. Guys, we're not competing with you guys as realtors. Investors aren't. And these areas, you can have them. Our ideal demographic isn't going to be there, right? So any of these zip codes, I'm not saying I would never target them, but I would say anything over like 500K, guys, I'm not going to target these areas. Are there going to be motivated sellers there? Yeah. But if I have a budget of like 5K and I can get maybe like 20,000, records with that, and then skip trace those, and then I'm paying for a cold caller and a texter, paying for my texting credit, my platform, guys. And I have 100 and what, out of all these like 182 zip codes to choose from, we need to choose the best out of those to target. We need to give ourselves the best opportunity initially, because whatever you target initially should be your absolute best criteria to target. Whatever you target initially should be your absolute best, hands down criteria to target. It should be the best zip codes. It should be the best lists that you could target, because if you don't get a contract out of that in the first 30 days of marketing to that area, or you're not getting any motivated sellers, and then you target the best zip codes with the best zip list, then you probably need it back from that area. And that's how I test certain areas, right? I'll pull a very targeted list. One of my personal niche lists that I created myself, distressed tax delinquents, highly distressed owner occupants. I'm going to show you guys what that list looks like in a second. So if I pull those lists and then I'm not getting anything, and I went to decent zip codes, like not the super influent zip codes. I did this in Kansas City like a few months back, and I was getting like 2 leads a day with texting, and then the leads were like iffy. I said, that's interesting. Everything on paper looked good with Kansas City. I'm not saying it's not a bad market, but I was trying to choose between there and another market in Ohio, and I said, I split tested it. I pulled 5,000 records there, 5,000 records in Cleveland. And I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and redirect our efforts towards Cleveland. I had the same criteria, pulled zip codes that were basically the same in each market, did a split test, and I got way more motivated sellers, cooperative sellers, and contractable leads within the first 2 weeks of marketing to 5,000 records in Cleveland than I did in Kansas City. I said, okay, we're going to forego Kansas City at the moment, shelf that, and then we're just going to redirect all our efforts towards Cleveland. All right. That's how you do that, guys. And I'm always split testing. Okay. So when you market to an area, you want to make sure you're putting yourself in the best way to succeed. And I don't just go off of what other people say, and I don't go off of just like hunches and then just randomly pull data. Like I'm not just going to target all Fulton County and just say, well, let's just target all Fulton and then just absentee high equity. And there's no median sale, there's no sale price on the list or anything like that. Guys, at that point, you're just throwing darts at the wall, and it's a volume game at that point. Now we have, when I first started, we didn't have access to all this data back in 2015. We have access to so much data now. And this data allows us to position ourselves put ourselves in a great position where we're able to make smarter decisions with our marketing dollars. Okay. So gone are the days of just experimenting and hoping that we get a deal and keeping our fingers crossed. I think this method I created, I'm not saying I'm the only one doing this, but I would say that I spent some time, I've analyzed, I've done this exercise like hundreds of times to determine the best list to pull, and to determine if I'm actually going to get a deal out of my first marketing campaign when I go into a new market. Okay. Let me see if I have any questions before I go forward. Okay. No questions. All right, cool. All right, guys, we'll go on for about 30 more minutes. Okay. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the median sale price, or excuse me, I'm going to remove any zip codes above 500K. Usually in most markets, guys, that's what my ceiling is. In some markets, I have a floor. So my floor of median sale price, like Memphis or Detroit, I have a floor of like maybe 100K, maybe 90K. But guys, if there's a zip code and it's like 50K or 40K, I'm not targeting it. But most of the time, I don't need to put that there. Because most of these areas, they don't have those types of zip codes. Those are definitely war zones, regardless of the home sold volume. I'm not targeting an area where the median sale price is 50K. Like my wholesale fees, I probably have to contract something for 5K and then get a 5K assignment fee. I'm not doing that, right? I'm looking for 20K bags, 20K assignments. All right, cool. So what I like doing after I do that is I like sorting. Really, what I first did when I first started doing this exercise and getting the hang of it, I would look at the zip codes that would have the highest homes sold. But here's my thing, guys. Anything that has over 50 homes sold, I think it's fair play, right? 50 to 327, fair play. I think a better way to actually target your zip codes when you start off is sorting them by ascending order. Okay. So right here, I'm sorting these by ascending order because, again, guys, the less somebody spent for their house, price, what they spent, motivation. The less they've spent on their house, the lower the median sale price in the area, the more motivated they're going to be. It's an inverse relationship. Okay. That's why we're not targeting. That's why I don't think we should target or even consider these zip codes in like the 500K area first. Again, we'll target these eventually, but this is month 3, 4, or 5, right? Once we pulled, once we got like maybe 5 properties under contract, 6. Okay, we could afford at this point. We got 50K in the bank, 60, 70, maybe 100K. We pulled some large assignment fees. At this point, guys, what we can do is actually target some of these MSAs, zip codes that are more affluent, but not super affluent, right? There's still going to be motivation here, right? In this 500K area, but there's going to be fewer pockets of motivated sellers. But our list criteria is going to allow us to target those like really motivated sellers here. Okay. That's very important to know. All right. So, again, 99 homes sold, 495K, again, anything that's filtered here that I filtered, I'm going to remove this or just hide this 2021 data. Anything that's filtered here, I would say is fair play. So what do we have? We have 104 zip codes. It says 105, but we're removing the header column. Guys, I like that. After I filter down my my zip codes by median sale price and then home sold, that's pretty good. I have 100 to target. I know that can give me months of unique data before I have to re-pull like data. And I don't want to re-pull data more than once a quarter. Really once every 6 months. I know I can get 6 months worth of data easily here with all these combination of lists that I have here. And some of them are overlapping, but I know I can get that much data. Now, here's my methodology. What I like doing is going county by county. So some people may say, well, you said you like going by the median sale price where you start off with the lowest median sale price. Why don't you just take all these and put these inside of your database and then pull these? You could do that, guys. But for me personally, I like keeping things just a little bit more organized. And I just like going in an order. So I know I'm not pulling any duplicate data. Some people, some investors, we like to jump the gun. We just want to get started with marketing. We don't care what the organization looks like. We just want to get started. And then it's going to create a mess for yourself months down the road. So my tradecraft, my methodology is this. I go, I look at based off the median sale price when it's filtered by ascending, right? When it's ascending right here. Okay, we're like Spalding, Clayton. I'm looking at the counties that come up multiple times. So in the first, like, let's just say 10 or 12 rows. So I see Spalding once, Clayton, Fulton, Clayton, DeKalb twice, Clayton again, Douglas, DeKalb, Rockdale. So I'm seeing Clayton like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, like 5 times. Okay. So some people may say, well, just pull Fulton. That's the largest populous one. But Fulton, on the scale of affluence, may be higher in affluence than Clayton. Right? So guys, you see what I'm doing here? I'm not only targeting the most motivated like records. And see, you guys, this is where people get wrong here. They think it's just like somebody asked me today, are you pulling prop stream data? Bro, no, I'm not. But that's not the only thing. It's tradecraft. Here's what you get with me if you pull a list for me. You're getting the most motivated records and the most motivated zip codes. It's multifaceted, right? And then I scrub them for duplicates as well. It's multifaceted, guys. Also, too, I forgot to tell you guys, the home sold volume, guys, that tells me how many properties, that tells me if I have cash buyer activity. So that's another main reason why I have 50 or more, right? We want to make sure when we have a property, we actually have people that want to buy it, right? And I used to filter my list also by by population density. I got this from census.gov. I got this from eig.org, the distress tier. But I don't do that now because honestly, this data is from 2020. They only update it every 10 years. And I've seen a lot has changed. Again, you'll see a lot has changed in some of these zip codes from like 2021 to even now. So look, days on home sold, albeit was April 38 in this zip code in 30223. Now that matches up with low density. That's very close to 2020. But in 2023, again, in the summertime, but still, that's huge. In the summertime, I would expect maybe 38. And in the summer of maybe April 2021, probably increase maybe like 50 or 60. But 172, 2 years later, and that's still considered low density. Guys, that's huge. That's why I don't filter by low density. I keep this on here just like a check for me. I just like having that extra layer of data just to see what I'm working with. But as I've gotten further and further from the original spreadsheet here of using this data, of using this data set with the population, and this was in 2020, in 2021, initially I would filter it by density and only filter out high density and very high density areas. But over the years, and we're almost going on 4 years of me using this data set come January, or next April. So we're about 3 years in using this. A lot has changed. A lot has changed just in Atlanta. And again, I'm just surprised at some of these zip codes that have just popped off. And again, that's why I do this exercise. Guys, I'm not asking a realtor. And when I was in my younger years and when people didn't have access to this data, they would say, well, call your realtor up and ask them the best place to market. Wrong answer. Guys, I do not freaking like depending on other people. I'm an introvert of all introverts. If I could do everything myself, I would. But I do not like depending on other people, especially for my data, right? I don't like doing that because it's just a bottleneck. Like if I have to wait for somebody to do something for me, I could depend on myself. You guys could depend on me, but even me, I could be a little bit of a bottleneck if you're waiting on me. But, I realize time is of the essence. So I try to get this stuff to you guys quickly. If you ask me marketing questions, I'm on it, right? If you need a list pull, I'm on it. 24 to 48 hours, you got it. But again, depending on a realtor who's not really who knows real estate law more than the real estate market, that didn't work for me, guys. And then if I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes I've spent that in a month or a quarter on marketing, on data, on list pulling, on skip tracing, on direct mail, on cold callers, on VAs, on operations people. Guys, that's not going to work for me. And again, we do this to make sure we're maximizing our marketing dollars. This is serious. It may look like it's tedious, but guys, this is before you pull your list. If you're pulling your list and you're just going in prop stream and doing that, and you're not doing this, you're setting yourself up for failure. I don't know anybody else that's talking about this type of stuff. I don't. And it's one of the most important things that you can do in your market, right? I don't want to sound too preachy or lecturing, guys, but like it's super important. And that's how that's the foundation. One thing I like mentioning as well, just to give you guys context of how I look at just like the wholesaling market, like the wholesaling, like just wholesaling in general. And you can replace this with wholesaling if you're getting rentals. You know, guys, when it really comes down to it, your exit strategy, that's at the tail end, right? I don't care if you're getting sub twos. I don't care if you're getting rentals. I don't care if you're doing creative finance, which is sub two. I don't care if you're wholesaling. You're going to need most of these departments, right? Unless you're picking properties up for on the MLS. Like this doesn't like resonate with you. This isn't going to be applicable to you rather. But again, I put market research first, then list pulling, then skip tracing, then your message delivery, cold calling, and all that. Some people want to put the cart ahead of the horse. They want to get a texting tool, and then they want to focus on technology, or either they're like VAs and hire this VA company or hire this VA. They're the best texter they heard in the world, and then their data sucks, right? They get to this point, and they don't realize they didn't focus on the foundation. And everything builds on top of each other in this wholesaling timeline. The market research is dependent on the list pool, right? If your list pool sucks, it doesn't matter how great your skip tracing is if you're not targeting the right people. If you didn't pull in the right market, if you're in a rural area, if your list pool, you're targeting all affluent homeowners and there's no like motivating criteria on your list, you're just targeting general high equity. Doesn't matter how great your skip tracing is great. You got in touch with all these people, just a lot of the wrong people. And then you start marketing to it and you're like, man, I wonder why, man, fire that cold caller, or man, fire that texting person, or maybe it's my REI reply account. Guys, that's why you have me. That's why you have me, guys. You don't want me calling your sellers. You don't. I'm pretty good at this, Phil. But even TC, I'm not organized for that. I got people that help me out with that. But guys, one thing I bring to the table is in the real estate industry, and this is why I love personality types, guys. I'm an INTP. I am the direct opposite of like 99% of you guys that are watching this. I cover your six on this. So anything when it comes to this, no pun intended, because this is on the left side of the diagram. I'm left brain. Shout out to you guys that are right brain, that are acquisitions, that just know how to negotiate with people. That stuff exhausts me, guys. I could train a team on how to do it, but I have about 1 to 2 training calls in me a day, and then I need a nap. But this stuff, I was up on Sunday morning. Shout out to Joe, pulling a list for Joe, one of my consistent list pulling clients, right? So, that's what I do. I love this stuff. And then putting you guys, equipping the decision makers, you guys, with the data you need to be successful, right? And everything after this, that's on you guys, okay? Now, I know how to do all this, but I would say my bread and butter is it is this part over here. I think it's overlooked because anybody get a PropStream account, or I know Jermaine's talking about list source. You can have the tool, but it's knowing how to use it. And hopefully some of you guys could take this information and then just bolster up your marketing efforts with it. That's what I want you guys to do, right? Doing it the right way. And we're going to be going over every MSA over 1 million population. Again, I think there's 55, maybe 56 in the United States, and we'll go alphabetical order. The first one is actually a really nice one, which is Atlanta. Okay. Let me see if I have any questions, and we'll go on a list pulling criteria. All right. No questions. All right, cool. Let's get to it. And again, guys, I apologize for the affinity screen. If I only share my Excel spreadsheet, then you guys won't be able to see like when I do this drop down for some reason. And I want you guys to see everything that I'm doing here. So, okay. All right. So where did I leave off before I got on that tangent? So I was talking about density. So if you guys don't see me filtering anything by these fields over here, I used to lean on them heavily when I first pulled this data, right? So EIG, I think this is from 2020 or 2021, the distress tier. But now, not so much. I can answer a lot of questions like how distressed the area is based off of the median sale price, right? If it's a lower median sale price around 100, 150K, I know it's going to be more distressed. If the density is low, but excuse me, if the population, or excuse me, if the home sold is low, activity is low, if it's below 50, if it's around 20, I know it's probably a lower density area. Okay. But again, this stuff just changes over time. So you really have to be mindful of just like using updated information. Okay. And not using census stuff that updates every 10 years. Quantitative information, not qualitative. This is qualitative. All this is quantitative. All right. So let me talk about the list I will pull initially. So look at Clayton. Just going to filter everything by Clayton. So I can start here, guys, if I wanted to. Again, I really want, and that's decent, but really, guys, I don't want to target multiple counties when I first start. So again, I could target this, and this will be a good place to target. But to be honest, any of the zip codes that I have here, again, that I filtered out, they're going to be fair game unless I start getting to the 400K. But anything like probably like 300K and below, I feel like I can focus on. So I'll do it like this. Fulton County is one of the larger counties. I think the largest county population wise. So this gives me quite a bit of zips to target. Again, I don't have all the zips here because why? I filtered them by median sale price. So we're not seeing the affluent zip codes and the home sold. So what I did is I went and actually in my server, my proprietary server, and I actually went and put in some of these some really nice criteria. Again, I did it all in Fulton County. If you guys are doing this yourself, go zip code by zip code, right? I just did the whole county just to get an idea of what I'm working with here, okay? And just how healthy the county is as far as some of the data set that I'm able to pull. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't target anything that's like super rural. I would eliminate this one right here, 30303, because I may be able to get 4,000 sellers from this area. And it's very high density, which is crazy. And there were only 9 homes sold. That's wild, actually. For something to be very high density, that must be that's a small population. That must be like super small area. So again, I'm not going to target that because I may not have any cash buyers that want to target that area. All right. 18, 11,000 population. I'm not going to target 30313. I may eventually, but I'm not going to do that right off the bat. So just keep that in mind, guys. So let's go ahead and do my list pulling criteria. All right, cool. So Fulton County distressed tax delinquents, what we're looking at here, property type, residential, single family, single family residential, duplex, triplex, quadruplex. So 1 to 4 units, all those are considered single family homes. I like doing a half an acre or less of lot size. Again, why do I put this criteria on here? Guys, I do not want to target any rural properties. If I'm dealing with a property that's over, let's just say over a half an acre, probably looking at a more rural area. Again, some of you guys say, well, I could target and flip those. Okay, guys, I'm not talking about exceptions. I'm talking about the rule, not the exception to the rule. The exception to the rule is what makes us lose money. And you could target those, but that's not a smart way to weigh your odds. Okay. So just to answer that question, because a lot of people may say, well, you can do this. Well, you can do anything. If we don't have any standards in place, then what's the purpose of even using analytics, right? If we don't have clear boundaries with what we're targeting. Okay. So corporate owned, no, I don't target LLCs. Years owned, I like this criteria, greater than 10 years. So 2014 or greater. I like that. And again, I don't have an equity filter on here, but this tells me there's probably some equity in the home. I like targeting tax delinquent homeowners. I like targeting homeowners where the sale price was 100K or less. and then where the most recent mortgage amount is 100K or less. Okay. And then I focus on not listed homes. So I'm not going to get any homes that are listed. Again, if I were to just get this from the county, which we do, but we clean it up in our server as well. If I were to just get this straight from the county, then guys, I wouldn't be able to filter out all this data. I'd probably get 20,000 records and only 3,623 are worth targeting. Okay. So that's the tax delinquent distress. I like that. Guys, imagine, so let's just say you like this criteria here. Well, you can go and just go county by county and just do this whole criteria. I suggest doing about 5,000, probably 10,000 records to start off, because if you target 500 homeowners a day, every business day, Monday through Friday, texting, then that's 10,000 records. You'll be able to generate probably, let's just say 5 leads a day, 5 times 20, about 100 records, 100. You'll basically be able to get in touch with half of these people. So you'll get 50 solid people you get in contact with. You'll be able to generate a contract. Again, but if you're targeting super affluent people initially, your lead to contract ratio is going to be high. So as you start off, guys, your lead to contract ratio when you first go in, if you target one of these super motivated lists right here that I have, it's going to be not high. It's going to be it's a low ratio, which is what you want. So you want a low lead to contract ratio, like 20 leads to 1 contract. And that's what that will give you. Guys, those are right around PPC numbers. That's pretty good. Now, pay per lead, I'm not sure, guys. Pay per lead's not really hitting off because multiple people have those lead sources. But PPC, absolutely, guys. PPC, excuse me, but PPC nationwide. But you can't guarantee with PPC that you're going to get the areas that you want to target. That's why I like doing this. So this is about as good as you can get. This is about as good as you can get with targeting with outbound marketing, right? Without doing PPC, right? All right. So that's what I'm trying to do. And without targeting a niche list, that's what I was trying to say. So I don't want to target a list that's pre-foreclosure and I may have like 4,000 records. What do I do after that? Right? What do I do after that? With this, I know I can target, I can get a lot of data, but still have a tight criteria. Right? All that other data is like finite, or even if I did code violations, or even if I did like probates or inherited properties. Look, guys, those are good lists to target, but those lists, once you target them, it's done. Yeah, you can target these people, month after month. I've done that. But to be honest, guys, you can't really guarantee that you're going to get a consistent source of leads. So guess what? Your acquisitions team, they're doing what? They're trying to follow up with old leads and make something happen. Sometimes you just need to say, you know what? I just need a new data source. Okay. I just need new data. So I like that one. I also like, Fulton County. Again, using Fulton County, owner occupants. So I'm going to say distressed owner occupants. What makes this list distressed is going to be the sale price. Again, if this sale price was $200K, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean if I have non-corporate owners on here, lot size, that's just telling me, that's just narrowing down the type of properties I want. But what really makes this list distressed is the sale price. That's why I've just seen over pulling 3 million plus records, probably close to 4 million now. I'm being conservative when I tell you guys that. Don't want to embellish too much, but here again, 100K or less, median sale price, 100K most with the outstanding mortgage amount. Because I know even if they bought the house for 100K, they could have refinanced. So that lets me know that I have something good here. I have people that don't owe more than they bought the house for. And again, I stretch this sometimes, if your median sale prices, like I said, are around 388 here, I think 388, you could go up to maybe like 120 or 150. But if you have to do that just to increase your counts with your first list, then that's telling me that you're in an area where you don't have enough zip codes to target, or you don't have enough like qualified inventory to target, like distressed inventory. And so you need to guess, take a second look and say, you know what, is this an area I need to be in? Because a lot of the homes that are blue collar, like flippable inventory, may have already been flipped years ago. And you need to ask yourself, well, am I just pulling data just for the sake of it? Am I targeting people that bought their houses in the last 5 years opposed to 10 years or greater, as far as years owned? Am I sacrificing the sale price and the mortgage amount? Am I going up to 150K just to get more homeowners? Guys, you're trying to make it work at that point. It's equivalent to you trying to fudge the numbers. I know a lot of you guys, when you guys first started real estate wholesaling or investing, presenting a deal to a cash buyer and trying to find some comps maybe a mile away, 2 miles away, or, going back 3-4 years ago and finding that one comp that was an outlier that sold for 400K and like justifying that with a cash buyer for your cash buyer just to say, well, that's not going to work for me. You don't want to fudge the numbers, and you just want to look at the data and then just let the data tell the story. And that's what I do. Another list I like targeting, guys, is highly distressed owner occupant. So again, guys, all these records here in this highly distressed owner occupant is going to be in this owner occupant one. So I wouldn't pull both of these at once because they're going to be duplicate records on it. What I might do is just, if I wanted to, if I like this list and I like those zip codes, I may just do sale price less than or equal to 51,000 or 50,001 up to 100K. And that'll make up the difference between this 8,522 records and 3,123 records. Because again, the last thing I want to do is pull duplicate data. So, between 51,000 or 50,001 for the most recent mortgage amount and the sale price, I'm going to be looking at around 50. What was that number? About 5,000 records. Okay. Again, guys, sorry, I got a runny nose here. But yeah, so that's what I would do there. Also, too. Okay, wait. So this one is, 1 second here. So Fulton County distress. Let me see here. I think I put 2 of the same. Okay. Actually, okay. So this one's, yep. So also too, what you could target is a Fulton County absentee distressed absentee homeowners. Before we get to that, I want to go over the highly distressed. So the highly distressed one are people that bought their house for 50,000 or less. So guys, if I were going into this market and I was like, I have to get a deal, I know that this area is distressed and I needed like a cold call list, I was going manually down. Again, you could pull this, but if I'm working a 9-to-5 job or I'm manually calling these people, I'm gonna be like, I want the most motivated list. I'm going to target this highly distressed one, and then probably this distressed tax delinquents, and maybe I'll add on an absentee filter on it. But I like this distressed tax delinquent one, and then this distressed owner occupied one. Guys, these lists are as good as like that niche data that you guys are targeting. Like, I need homeowners that are, absentee seniors or tired landlords. Tired landlords isn't even a good list. That list is so overdone. And that's why I target this now, because I realized earlier this year, everybody's targeting that list. But investors are not targeting owner occupied pens. They're not. I spelled that wrong. Investors are not targeting owner occupants. And if they are, they're not targeting them with these really tight filters. They're targeting so much data where they don't have really a focus, and so, but there's part of the list that they're targeting. They may be targeting 30,000 owner occupants. Like, dude, we need to narrow that down a little bit. They don't know how to narrow it down. And this is how you narrow it down. Guys, why do I feel so confident in doing this? Because I market to this list. And also, too, I keep track of all the deals I close, not my deals, not just my deals, but my clients' deals. And my whole goal is to reverse engineer the avatar that we're targeting. So I'm like, okay, last deal I closed in Cleveland was a owner occupant, not owner occupant. Yeah, it was a tax delinquent owner occupant. Yeah. And then most of the people, really, I picked up on this years ago. Most of the people I bought houses from bought their houses for less than 100K. So I was thinking, why am I going to add an equity filter? Equity isn't really even that motivated. And you could really be missing out on a lot of property owner if you're just targeting equity. Like you could be filtering out people that bought their house for 100K less. I don't care if this person has no equity. If they have 100K as the current price that they owe on a mortgage, the mortgage amount's 100K and they bought it for 100K. Let's just say they did refinance it a few years ago and then now it's paid off to 100K. Now, let's just say they bought it 10 years ago and then for some reason the mortgage is still 100K. I don't know. But I don't care if they don't have any equity. If I have a cash buyer who pay me 150K for it and they walk away with nothing, they don't need equity. So when I learned that, I was like, oh, like equity is actually limiting. And to be honest, I don't trust equity filters. Equity, any filter that's not like a mortgage company doesn't use, I'm not using it because I can't trust it. It's not coming straight from like the loan company, right? Loan companies don't use equity. They use LTV, loan to value ratio. So equity isn't even that accurate. So I'm not going to use something that's not accurate because again, I could be eliminating a lot of qualified properties by doing that. Just pulling hundreds of lists, guys. That's just something I've come to know. Okay. Let me see if I have any questions before I wrap up here. Okay, no questions. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's wrap this up. And then tomorrow we'll go over Austin, all right? Okay, guys, let's get to it. So Fulton Distress County owner occupants, 100K. What makes this highly distressed? $50,000, guys. Imagine if somebody bought their house for $50,000. Inverse relationship between price, how much somebody spent on their house and motivation, or motivation over here and price, excuse me. So they bought their house for 100K. All right, that's going to be pretty motivated. But 50K? And let's just say the median sale price is 388K. Man, I could offer this person 80K or maybe 120K and then wholesale it for a $50,000 assignment fee. And they think they came out big. Guys, that's huge right there. That's so huge. Owner occupied, yes. Corporate owned, no. Years owned, 10 years or greater. 50,000 as a sale price. 50,000 as a mortgage amount. Now, I would say the only issue with this area, guys, when you're in this price range is you got to be mindful that you might want to add a floor onto it. And so sometimes I might add a floor of like 20,000 or 25K as far as the AVM, advanced valuation metric. Again, I'm not using assessed value. Assess is not accurate. It's only updated when the home sold and then every 7 years. So mortgage companies, they're using AVMs, BPOs, your broker price opinions, they're using AVM. So anything that you're using, I know is going to be accurate and I use. So I like that metric, AVM. So I may add an AVM there. So I'm not targeting like junk hood properties where like basically they're lot value. Again, you could, guys, if you want a quick wholesale fee, but sometimes those properties are not even worth it. Oh, and again, you'll hear me say this multiple times, guys, when it comes to owner occupants, guys, investors aren't targeting them. Now, I know I touched on this lightly, but investors are not targeting these right now. Based off my research, I really just started to go back this year to targeting owner occupants. I took about 2 years off. So anybody that got a list pull from me from 2022 to probably, late 2023, I only targeted absentees. But why did I go back to this list? It's because I've realized, especially in these lower end price ranges, guys, I've realized that a lot of these homeowners, they're not going to go and update their records from the county. And to be honest, I know this doesn't sound right, but let's just call a spade a spade. The county's not going to focus, or the MSA is not going to focus on counties and put more resources there than what the taxes are bringing in. Does that mean it's going to be rampant violence? Well, some areas, but no. Does that mean they're going to like not fill in potholes on time in a timely fashion, or they're not going to what am I trying to say? Like fix traffic lights? No. Or in a storm, they're going to wait weeks to get electricity back up? No, we're not saying that. But we are saying with county records, resource-wise, they're not going to make sure the county records are all updated. And, and these people right here, they're not on top of clerical issues like that. I'm just saying, I'm just calling it what it is. Somebody that bought their home for $50K and they owe less than $50K, and then they're in a distressed area. Guys, if they move out of that house to a relative's house, they're not going to go update that information. They're not, guys. They're not going to update that, and the county's not going to chase them down to do that. And there's no incentive because, they probably haven't updated their registration. They're probably not your model citizen. So what I found is that around 20 to 30% of these owner occupants in these really distressed areas are actually absentee. Very important nugget right there, guys. That's a gem. So again, 20 to 30% of these people with this distress criteria here, they're absentee. And that's what happened with this last deal that I contracted and closed in Cleveland. It was a owner occupant. I looked at the address on the county. The seller's address matched the property address, yet he moved out years ago. And there was a squatter in the house. So think, if all of these investors are just targeting basically what the herd's doing, and they're targeting absentee, like tired landlords, you guys have a real opportunity in a blue ocean by targeting these individuals right here and their owner occupants. And guys, if you text them on top of that, it's a wrap. You basically are able to get in touch with homeowners that aren't being contacted by others. Guys, it used to be so common and got very tiresome months. I would say years ago, all the way up until last year, really when they clamped down on the 10 DLC with texting and even cold calling, but basically when everybody was doing wholesaling, like 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, right? 2023, I feel like the herd thinned and a lot of the major players, a lot of the non-series players are out and the major players are still in. I'm still in it, okay? But during that time, I got a lot of texts back or calls, and a lot of my cold callers would say, well, you're like the 20th person that called me. We don't get that too often. We definitely don't get that with texting. Because, guys, the demographic we're texting right now, and the fact that we're texting just cold texting and we figured it out, man, that puts us way ahead of the curve. Now, if we don't contract something, it's really internally with our team logistically. And that's something we have to work on with our acquisitions team. But I would say that this list with texting, it's a wrap. It's amazing opportunity. And I'm glad that it's difficult to figure out because, again, it gives serious investors and investors that are analytical like me and like solving problems, it gives me a leg up. The last several years, guys, I've not been able to really get a leg up. It was really just outspending my competition. But now, we basically have an opportunity to really do some, put in a little bit of sweat equity, right? Brain power, figure this stuff out. And then now we're able to basically yield the fruits of our labor and take advantage of a lot of people, number one, not being able to figure the data part out. But I would say before that, a lot of people not being able to just basically leaving the market, leaving the wholesaling and investing space. Okay. But guys, there's going to be an inevitable boom, right? It goes up and down. There's going to be, I'm not sure, next year, year after that, 2 years from now, wholesaling is going to pick back up or real estate's going to pick back up. Money's going to loosen up. And guess what? People are going to get right back in it. And it happens in waves. And again, the fundamentals will not change. I will not change my fundamentals no matter what the buzzword they're saying or doing now. And again, guys, lastly, I would do the distressed absentee owners. So I would say in rank of like most motivation, I would probably put it's close. It's close between the highly distressed owner occupants and the distressed tax delinquents. But I would probably put like this list at number one. So out of all these, I would probably put this at one. Really, honestly, guys, the distressed tax delinquents is probably 1A, and then the highly distressed owner occupants is probably 1B. It's like tomato right there. Okay. But, I'll put this one on 2. I'll put oops. I'll put probably, give me 1 second, guys. I just format this properly. I'll put, trying to debate the absentee owners and then the distress. Yeah, so the absentee owners will probably be number 3. And guys, that may come as a shock to some of you all, where it's like, what? Absentee number 3? Yeah. This is a good list. This is a solid list. But is it the most motivated one on this list? No. Right? And then I'd put the owner occupants at number, the distressed owner occupants at number 4, right? So that's how I would do it. So you gotta think. I can go and I can pull tax delinquents, and some of these tax delinquents may overlap with this owner occupant one, guys. Right here. Some of them may overlap. So, those are unique lists, but again, they may overlap. But I would say this is definitely a unique list compared to the absentee owners. So if you want to be safe, you can just say, okay, well, I'm just going to target the tax delinquents and then go after the absentee ones, and then just target the Fulton County distressed owner occupants and then remove the tax delinquent filter. So we could do that in our system. And guys, anybody that pulls a list from me, I see somebody already screenshotted the little QR code. So it'll take you to just a form. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out, and then I'll contact you guys the next morning or afternoon to get your criteria from you. But whenever you pull a list from us, it doesn't matter if it's like now and then you come back the next month or 3 months later, we keep track of what list you pull. And so the whole goal, and even if we pull a list for other people in the market, we don't pull the same list. So if I pulled a list for somebody in Atlanta today, I would pull different zip codes from them. Like I may pull Fulton for somebody today, and then if I have another person in Atlanta, I'll pull Clayton tomorrow, right? But I'll make sure I'm still pulling, data, that zip codes that are targetable, right? Again, any of these 100 plus zip codes, 150 zip codes are targetable. Okay. So that's how I would rank those. I had to think about it for a little bit, but I would do that. But again, all these lists look good. And again, just to give you guys an idea of like how many cash buyers there are, if I were targeting this area, I would start texting and cold calling these cash buyers. So we have somebody on our team, a junior dispo manager. Their only job is to call cash buyers. Okay. Qualify them. Any cash buyers that are super motivated. We are, I wouldn't say super motivated, that aren't tire kickers, that basically sound like they're serious. they then get pushed up to our clients, right? Or, used to be me, but my dispo manager, my American dispo manager. So we have a junior dispo manager who basically is just cold calling, cold texting buyers all day. So again, single family, duplex, tris, quads, owner occupied. No, obviously corporate. Yes. Again, we could target people that are non-corporate owned. I could do that as well. But I would say if I were just to go in this market, LLCs only. Tax delinquent, no. We don't want any cash buyers that are delinquent in their taxes. And then sale date, okay, it's the 7th October as I'm shooting this video. So basically 1 year to now, right? So I want them to have purchased a home from last October 7th, 2023, October 7th, 2023 to now. And then equity greater than 100%. So if somebody, to go through the logic train here, somebody bought their home within the last year, they don't live in it, and they have more than 100% equity, guys, that's a cash sale. So some of these, list pulling tools may say, oh, well, you could just click cash on there. Again, guys, a mortgage company isn't going to have like this was a cash sale. It's going to have the LTV as, forgive me, guys, less than or equal to 99. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah, less than or equal to 99. Okay, it's the opposite with equity. So I'm doing the same. Again, I don't trust some of these tools where they have those filters on there because I'm like, where are they pulling this stuff from? And they say they're pulling it from the MLS, but I'm like, just you can't get MLS data unless you're a realtor. So is it like MLS lookalike data? I just don't know. I go off of what I know is actually verifiable. And that's why I think a lot of people, a lot of investors rather, are missing data because they're going after these like quick, easy filters and they're not building their list themselves. And so that's why I'm able to get like 3 times as much data than I would say PropStream or any of these popular tools. Not because the data is not there, because I think the data is in PropStream, but I think it's just like the filters that you have access to, right? I know in my tool, in my FTP server, I have access to a lot more like legitimate filters than some that loan companies use. And it's coming straight from the loan company, straight from the title company, than a lot of these like list pulling tools. And again, that stuff will get you by, guys. But again, if you're trying to put an actual marketing campaign together, you want to try to extract every single record that you can get, or else you may, one, be missing out on a lot of data that's solid, right? That you can targetable data. And 2, you may think that the market's a lot smaller than it actually is. And 3, because of that, you're targeting the same data that other investors are targeting. It's a crucial mistake. So with this 2,800 records. And so again, when I do this, again, I'm not going to pull all this stuff countywide. It's just to get an idea of the health of the market. And that makes me feel good. So if I'm targeting distressed owner occupants, 8,000 records just in Fulton County, that's good. I know I have 20 counties. Probably I would really only target about 7 or 10 of them. But still, that's good data. And these filters are really strict right here. Absentee, 3,000 records. If I needed to, I could go up to years own, probably 7 years, maybe even 5 years with $100K as a purchase price. And I could probably get up to maybe like 7,000 records. I also too know as well when I go by zip code as well. And only list I'll pull countywide is like the Fulton County, right? Distressed tax delinquent ones or tax delinquent ones. But if I were to go by zip code with these, I'd actually probably get more data. But this is just for reference, just so you guys get an idea. Now, if I went in the largest county in the MSA, like we're going to do Austin tomorrow, guys. I did the whole county of Austin, or what? I forgot the county of Austin. I'll look at it tomorrow when I do my analysis. But if I did the whole county of Austin or Fulton, right? And let's just say I'm getting like 1,000 records or 800. That tells me that the health of that market, as far as investing, is not very great. It tells me that the health of that market isn't very great. And if I don't have I could have 150 plus zip codes, but if I'm not in an area where I'm not able to pull or have a surplus of data or a decent amount of data that I can actually target, that makes sense to target right off the bat, then that's a warning sign for me that I shouldn't be in that market. And again, it's a good thing. Atlanta, Fulton County isn't, it doesn't match that criteria. So I would say if you were to target this area, guys, absolutely go for it. If you're in the market, if you're looking to go to a virtual market, yes, but you could target it, but I would be very just judicious with the areas you target in the list. Because I know in Atlanta, you can target some really affluent areas. And to be honest, I would probably filter this a little bit more just from the start and wouldn't target anything over 400K as the median sale price. You just want to make sure you're not targeting any really affluent areas. But the zip code analysis, that'll get you halfway there. And then when you do your list pulling, that'll basically just take care of any rural properties or any really affluent homeowners. Okay. So guys, that's all I have there. I hope you guys found this helpful. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is we are going to go over in the morning, 9 a.m. Austin. So again, just to give you guys a preview of what I have on deck here is, yes, let me open this up, is we're going to be targeting, month by month, all these. I'm going to remove this highlight. And as I go through them, I'll just go ahead and highlight them. So we already did Atlanta. So that's one down, guys. And 55 more to go. Cool. 55 more to go. So again, Austin, we're just going to go in alphabetical order here. Okay. All right, guys. I hope you guys found this helpful. And I will absolutely, Jermaine, thanks for joining all these. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the questions. I feed off the interaction. I'll